Hello and welcome to another edition of Banana Island Living podcast. My name is Shadi, and today I have the distinct pleasure of speaking to Biola Alabi. I'm going to let Biola introduce herself because I can't do her justice. And I think if she introduces herself, you'll get a feel for how she moves in the world, her modesty. Anyway, Biola, please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Just a little bit about myself. I literally like to say that I am a multifaceted business executive. I've lived and grown up in the world of media. I've now transitioned into technology investing. I believe in investing in our future, and early investments count. So I'm an angel investor. That led me into venture capital, which is what I'm currently doing. I also believe in impact investing, and I also work with social entrepreneurs. And so really, for me, I believe in the power of entrepreneurship, the power of building strong businesses, the power of creating jobs. And so professionally, that is who I am and what I do. So I am currently working as a general partner at Acacia Ventures. I am also on a number of investment committees for venture capital firms. I also still have my media and technology advisory business in which we advise companies that are doing innovation just because there's so much change happening in media. I also still invest in early stage media companies. I sit on the board of many companies. And so really, I just love to constantly challenge myself. I'm extremely curious, and my curiosity has opened so many opportunities for me. I'm a mom, and I love being a mom.
She's a touchdown mom. She's on it. Thank you very much for letting people see a little bit of who you are, because you what I find fascinating about what you do is the professionalism with which you do every single thing. And there's quite a bit of it. I mean, you're doing the mom thing professionally, you're doing the tech thing professionally, you're in media. But when I looked at your CV, you started out with a BA in public health. How did you get into tech and media?
So the transition happened because, of course, my parents were immigrants. They migrated to the U.S. I was born in the U.S. They migrated back to Nigeria and then migrated back to the U.S. And so as children of immigrants, children of Nigerians, there are very few professions you're allowed to even think of. There's doctor, there's lawyer, there's engineer, and there's maybe one other one that's
engineer.
But that's it. Like it's like, are you going to medical school? Are you going to engineering school? Are you going to be a lawyer? What else do you plan to do with your life? And so very early on, I really loved science. I love the sciences. And so there was a very early dictation that, you're just going to go to medical school. So first year at university, I was taking these classes. And one of the first things that happened to me that made it clear medical was not going to be the thing for me was organic chemistry, which was at 8 a.m. in the morning, which I still don't. I think it was even before 8 a.m. I felt like it was a 7 a.m. class. I was just like, why do we have to be up at 7 a.m. to go to school? And so I would, drag myself into the 7 a.m. organic chemistry class. It was 5 credit hours, which basically mean like your whole semester depended on this class. And quickly we decided that. And I knew very quickly, too, that if you weren't getting an A in all your prereqs, there's just no point in even trying to get through medical school. So very quickly, I thought, let me switch to something that I think probably I might want to do. And that was pharmacy. So I started taking pharmacy. I was on the pharmacy journey, and one summer I did a pharmacy internship. And so I worked at one of the big pharmaceutical stores in the U.S. And I would get to work every day, and we would interact with customers. We would give them their drugs. And so I went to my boss one day. I said, "So what else are we going to be doing?" And my boss is like, "This is the job. This is what we do." And I was like, "Ooh, we just dispense drugs all day." And then he was like, "Well, you could do research, and to do research, you have to do this, you have to do that." And I was like, this doesn't sound like fun. So I went back to school and I went to my counselor and said, I need to do something else. What is it else that I can do? So she was like, look, you can still go to medical school. You already have a lot of the prereqs. Why don't you do public health? And then I thought, okay, I'll do public health, and then I'll join the Peace Corps. And then after the Peace Corps, I'll come back and go to medical school. So while I was doing my public health degree, part of public health degree at my school at the time, you had to take marketing classes. So I took these marketing classes because public health is really a marketing profession. You're really trying to promote all these public health messages. And then my internship, and you have to do a required semester of work. And my work was also at a health institution, a big hospital, and they were launching something that they were calling a mom center, which is like a new type of maternity center. And they needed someone to come and help them create all this marketing collateral and all this marketing campaign to get new moms to want to pick that institution. But they were really doing all these really innovative things that are now mainstream, which is around parenting classes, pre-parenting classes, sibling classes, lactation classes. So we had to develop all this marketing material. We had to go on different radio stations to discuss it. And so I could now see the intersection of the marketing class that I had taken playing out in public health. That's when I said, I'm going to minor in marketing because I just found it to be a powerful tool. And then post college now, I'm now looking for work. I was offered a job in a health space, but I was also offered an opportunity to travel and work abroad. And that was basically, I thought if I wanted to go abroad to work, I loved Japan. I still love Japan. It's still one of my favorite places. I wanted to go to Japan. And so I was offered an opportunity to go to Korea instead of Japan. But I took it because it was close enough that I can go to Japan all the time. And I did when I was in Korea.
You could quickly, yes, yeah.
I quickly did a hop over. And that's sort of like how, then I never joined the Peace Corps because I spent all this time living in Asia. By the time I got back, I was like, okay, I have to start tackling my student loans. So I never went back to join the Peace Corps because I spent longer than I expected in
America and the loans.
And yes, in Korea. I know, American and the loans in Korea. And then when I got back, I just sort of fell into marketing because I had done so much stuff around marketing. And while I was in Korea, I got a marketing job to come and do marketing in the US. And so that sort of was the end of my public health journey. However, I was very fortunate to get another opportunity to work on public health. During COVID, I actually was part of the Lagos State COVID Task Force and actually worked on a lot of the marketing material and the messaging around safety, around prevention. And so I was able to sort of marry these two worlds.
I was so impressed by the Lagos State COVID response. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know whether you were involved or anything. I'm just learning that now. But it seemed so sleek and so professionally done compared to what we were getting in the UK. It was so well done, the information going out to people and also the timeliness of the information, synthesizing the information, the data into graphics. Yes. I thought that was incredible.
Yes.
So yeah, if you were involved in that, hats off to you.
Yes, no, it was really fun. It was an amazing team.
I've been falling into marketing. Tell me what the next step was. You joined, how did you get to Mnet? Because I saw that and I thought, wow, this is an interesting lady from public health to marketing and now into... Was it marketing that took you into Mnet or was it?
Yes, marketing did lead me to MultiChoice eventually, but marketing ended up being the bedrock of my career. I was very fortunate that after my many experiences of living in Korea, living in Asia, backpacking across Asia, I knew it was really time to go back to the US. And so I had started to kind of have conversations with people about what will I do in the US. And then one of the executives that I was actually teaching English while I was in Korea, and at Daewoo, offered me a role with Daewoo. Daewoo was going to be launching their new cars in the US and they needed marketing. They needed to build a marketing team. And so I automatically became part of that marketing team. I was part of introducing the cars into the market. We had a very interesting and alternative marketing strategy just because it was such a crowded marketplace in the end, but there was still a huge opportunity. And so we decided to market to young people, almost like first time car buyers. And so we had that entry market strategy as first time car buyers, get an economy car or get a brand new car. And that was sort of Daewoo's strategy into the US market. And we worked that strategy. It worked really well. But at some point, they actually were being bought by dealers. And so they had to go into the dealership model, which then didn't make sense because they wanted to convert all the marketing people into sales and marketing people, which is a really different type of profession. So that led me into youth marketing because now I'd had expertise working in youth marketing. And that's when I got my first job with a startup company. I was their regional marketing rep for the Midwest. And that company was one of the first companies to sell online college textbooks. And so I went up and down the Midwest. I traveled via train, plane, automobiles, marketing this product in the Midwest. And then from there, I got into different marketing opportunities. I got into Sesame Street, where it was one of the biggest children brands in the US. And globally, they've done an amazing job of localizing the program across the world. And it's in over 50 50 languages, 50 countries. I mean, it's just an amazing, powerful brand for early childhood education. And worked my way through corporate sponsorship, corporate marketing, different roles in the company to then be a regional director for international expansion. And of course, my love was Africa. I wanted to work on Africa. And so I was very insistent on being on the Africa team. And that led me to start doing work on our brand in South Africa. I spent a lot of time in South Africa. We came up with a strategy for Africa-wide expansion. So I ended up, traveling to over 18 countries, talking to educators, production people, children experts, psychologists, really to understand the challenges in the early years and how we can create media products to address those. And in the middle of that, we were trying to find a Pan-African broadcaster, and that led me to meetings with MultiChoice, which at the time I was still living in New York, but traveling to the continent, spending a lot of time on the continent. And that interaction actually led to them offering me the role because really one of Sesame Street's power and superpower is localization. They take this very American brand and really localize it to meet the needs of children, from being in Afghanistan to be in Palestine, to be in Jordan, to being in South Africa, where they have very different focus points, but really still focusing on numeracy and literacy and life skills. And so in those conversations, the challenge that MultiChoice was having was becoming more local, how to become a more local brand. I had experience either bringing global brands into local markets, either with Daewoo from Korea to the US, taking a US brand also local. So I had experience doing both ways, taking international brands, localizing them in the US, and taking US brands and localizing them in other markets. And so they really enjoyed my experience. For Sesame Street, I had worked on projects in India. I worked on our Indonesia project. I worked on our Africa project. So I had experience marketing and branding and also building partnerships both ways. And that's how I got the job with MultiChoice. MultiChoice role was very much about how to localize and become a better and bigger Africa brand. And so we started with the African content and how to monetize, create platforms and market African brands. And that's really what took off. We started with I think it was one Africa Magic channel that was broadcasting for half a day. I was able to expand that with my team into 8 African channels. That led also to expansion into local language channels, indigenous channels, like the Yoruba channel, the Hausa channel, the Kiswahili channel. And that really became my anchor for into the continent and to doing different work on the continent. So yes, marketing was this really amazing door opener for me to have so many different experiences.
Now, I was just wondering what your perspective on the framing of the media content from the West, which is something that I've certainly become a bit more aware of. And with your role in content creation, I just wanted to get your perspective. Is there something that is becoming more of a topic?
Thank you. So the Western framing will always be about eyeballs, right? In any different way. So Western media is very focused on eyeballs. If either that's through newspapers, which no one reads newspapers anymore, and that's all moved to social media platforms, but also still in broadcasting. And I think this is where, so that's one thing. Western media is only focused on that. That makes it extremely sensational. I think that we also know from data and the data coming in, social media platforms are not the best for young people's health. But once again, those platforms are driven for purely one thing, which is eyeballs. Eyeballs equals into advertising dollars. Advertising dollars means revenue. And therefore, I always think it's really, it's important for us as Africans to know that the way any media organization sees a story is what does this story mean for me? Is this means more clicks? Does this mean more eyeballs? Does this mean more advertisers? Advertisers drive media stories. And at the end of the day, this is the lens in which we have to look at things, and we also have to tell our stories. We have to tell our stories in a way that drives our agenda. And so, as someone that's been involved in content creation and that's now had the opportunity to take a step back and actually invest also in media platforms, I'm constantly asking, what stories are you telling? What lens are you using to tell these stories? And what information are we going to be putting out with these platforms? And it's very important to have responsible information for me personally, and also responsible media. And I mean, one of the things I like to be associated with is platforms that are responsible in the way they tell stories.
Does your story tell?
Exactly. What impact does your story have? And so there's always sort of this uproar from different African countries about how they're being portrayed in Western media. But I think what's so important is to make sure that you are always telling your stories, and you create an environment in which people in those countries also want to tell their stories. So there is a huge storytelling framework in the US, which is that it is the best place on earth. For people that have lived in the US or people that travel to the US, they know that there's a lot of...
It's a little bit more nuanced.
It's a little bit more nuanced than that. But what it is that the general message that is constantly reinforced is that you as an American are living in the best place. Yes, it's not the perfect place, but you're living in the best place that you can be living today on earth. And therefore, that message is the filter in which Americans see the world. And therefore, every message they put out is that, yes, this isn't perfect, but it is still the best place. And I think that that's really where our storytelling has to get to, in which we're able to see the best of what we have in a nuanced lens. I think right now what is easy to do, and therefore makes us fodder for Western media, is that it is all about calamity and the worst / oh, this is the worst place I could be living, but there are these other nice things that happen. While we sort of have to flip that narrative. And I think there are quite a number of organizations working to change that narrative. I think there are a lot of individuals working to create different imagery of Africa, different imagery of Nigeria. And I always tip my hats off. As a producer, I also make sure that anything I produce is positively impacting the way the world sees us.
I mean, if you go to other African countries, they're wearing ashoke, ashwebi, they're wearing geles, they're Nigerian weddings, more or less. And I think a lot of that has to do with Nigerian movies.
It has to do with the impact of Nigerian movies, Nigerian content. I think social media platforms have also been an amazing
Music, yes.
way
Yeah.
for us to promote the joy in our culture, in our customs. And I think
The
that we're
joy.
not taking
I love that
advantage.
word.
Yes, there's a real joy in our culture, in our music,
Yeah.
even in our food. And I think that we need to figure out a way to tell that story, not just from an individual perspective, but at a national level. And I don't think it's just
Yeah.
about ticking a box to say brand Nigeria. It's really about being conscious of what are we going to focus on? Is it the culture? Is it the joy? Is it in the customs? What are the things that we want to package and sell the world as who we are? And therefore, we are giving the world something rather than always seen as taking from the world. So we can give the world this beautiful, joyful, vibrant culture.
Beautiful place. Yeah. The thing that I personally have come to appreciate about being a Nigerian, I think it's like a superpower that you have, like
Mm-hmm.
I've lived in a different culture. And it's the ability to be your full self,
Yes.
So as big as you are, you can be whatever you want to be in this country. You can scream if you want to and be all saint like the next minute. Nobody's going to put you in a box. The next minute you can laugh loudly and nobody's going to judge you for that. I think there aren't that many places on earth where you can do that.
I believe so. And I think that also Nigeria gives you a lot of room because there's so many opportunities. There's such huge ways in which you can, if you're a very curious person, you can continue to explore and reinvent yourself. And I think that ability, and also there's an openness to reinvention here in Nigeria. We should
It's
all
almost like America, isn't it?
It is.
It's a bit American in that way, isn't it? Yes.
And I think that people don't look at strangely at it when you say, oh, this is what I'm doing, or I'm doing this. And so I feel like the beautiful thing also about our culture is it's not either or, it's and. So people are, when you ask people, oh, do you know someone that can do this? Oh, I can do that as well. And it's and. And I think that's a real power that we have that we also need to leverage. We need to tell that story. We need to promote that story. And people are multi-skilled and people pick up skills very quickly. And so we also have an ability to learn quickly and to constantly learn. And once again, these are real. So I think that what has happened is that there has been an overemphasis on extraction while sort of on what's underground rather than actually developing the humans that are above ground and then packaging that and marketing that as our superpower. And this huge population of resourceful people that speak English, that speak multiple languages, they can live anywhere in the world, which data has shown us Nigerians can thrive anywhere in the world. And anywhere a Nigerian goes to, they truly bring a unique perspective and culture to the place. I'll tell you a little anecdote. I was talking to a music executive in Nigeria, and he was saying that all this jackpot stories sounds like a disadvantage to a lot of sectors, but it's been an advantage for their sector. And I said, tell me more. And he said, what happens is that when young Nigerians jackpot, they go to a company, most of them get really great jobs, and they bring this flair with them to these companies that are probably very cookie cutter. And then there comes a Christmas party and the Nigerian will usually say, look, I'll DJ for the Christmas party. They DJ for the Christmas party. Most of it, they bring Nigerian music to it. He says, before you know it, all these people in this company are now they go find these songs on Spotify. And he says every time they do that, it's revenue for them. So he says, as Jackpot continues to grow, they see their revenue, their streaming revenue quadrupling,
milking it
over and over. And he says that before you know it, this Nigerian has brought all this entertainment to his company. Then the people in the company are like, oh, I want to try Nigerian food. Or if there's a potluck, Nigerians will take jollof rice. Before you know it, the person's like, oh, I want to know more about Nigeria. So Nigerians sort of bring with them this culture of joy because our music is joyful. When you come into an office wearing Adire, everybody is lifted up. So there's just all these things. I mean, if it's, Adire we wear, if it's okay, the colorfulness, the joyfulness that we bring into anywhere. How do we market that more? How do we brand that? And how does that become ours?
How do we package that and bottle it and sell it?
Exactly. And I think that's really the real opportunity we have in our culture and tourism and creative economy sector.
Okay. Now, any regrets? You've done so many things. What are the highs? What are the lows?
Oh God, too many lows to talk about. I mean, they're just, the journey is always rocky, but I think that what is really important is the lessons you learn. So I've made so many different mistakes.
Right. Haven't we all? I'm a walking mistake.
No, but I mean, they've also been amazing opportunities to take a step back, reevaluate, and then reload and plan and move forward. So I think the biggest reboot. Is resilience on this journey. I mean, you're going to do so many things.
Resilience. Nigeria teaches you resilience. Nigeria teaches you resilience. If nothing else.
You'll ask yourself, why did I make that?
So what would you say? At what point do you say? Was there any point in your career or your life that you said, "Do you know what, Biola, you haven't done so badly. Go easy on yourself." Was there a high where you actually did? Because as women,
yes,
and as women of color, we constantly pushing ourselves and always trying harder. And at some point, when did you say, cut yourself some slack? This isn't bad. It was moments that you've said that to yourself. And when
there are moments where I do give myself permission to enjoy the achievements. I want those moments to be longer than they are. They seem to be always short-lived and then onto the sort of next one. Okay. But there have been moments. I think that one of the hardest times for me was separation from my marriage and divorce. I think divorce was really hard for me. And it's hard for everyone. I think it was especially hard for me because at the time it happened, there was, once again, there is the way you see your life and the way other people see your life. And so I think it was so hard because there was so much shame and shame lives in a place where it sort of makes you numb and steals your voice. And so that's why I talk about it, actually, because every time you tell that story, every time you free yourself. I remember the first time I talked about my divorce publicly, I got a call from one of the leading media publishers, and he said, "No, you should never talk about this." And I thought, oh my God, this is where shame loves to live. And so for me, I realized very quickly that every time I tell people that this is one of the hardest things I've had to live through, I'm also, it's freeing for me. Every time my voice gets a little louder and clearer every time I tell that story. So that was really hard for me. And I think it took me a long time.
In an African context.
Of course.
Also in an African context, you're only supposed to love your children and your God. What is this? You just manage.
That's it.
I want a little bit more. I want to be happy.
Yes.
With happiness.
Yes. And to be honest with you, a lot of the advice that I was getting at the time was not to leave.
Yeah.
Was not to leave. And so
the fact exactly. They'll say, "Why are you leaving? What's the big deal?"
And there was almost this sense of why do you think you're so special that you get to leave?
Exactly. Yep.
That there's so many people going through this and they're making it, they're sort of suffering in silence. Number one, why must you leave? Why are you so special? And number two, why must you now talk about it? And so, so those were some of the hardest times, but also the freeing times for me. And so I think those, the decision to talk about it was, very difficult, but I think that also has been the best decision I made, talking about it and making sure people knew that you can get through this and you can get to be on the other side of this. And with your dignity intact.
Well,
or not, who cares?
Well, oh yeah, there was one movie I saw. I mean, I don't remember the movie exactly, but the one phrase still stays with me. He says this woman was advising her daughter and said, "Oh, marriage. You're not the sort of person that can leave your marriage with dignity." I thought, what? There's a mother telling, that you just don't have the strength of character to leave a marriage with dignity. And I'm thinking, whoa. And when you said that thing about leaving with dignity and keeping your dignity intact, is it really resonated, And I'm very proud of who you are. I mean, I'm getting vicarious joy from listening to you.
Thank you so much. But it's been I mean, I have to say the hardest thing, but I'm really grateful for the family support I got, and really for then being able to really do some of the things I wanted to do, which is I knew I wanted to be a mom. I had suffered through many years of IVFs and miscarriages, and had finally decided that my journey of motherhood will be different. And I explored adoption. And that was also very challenging. And also, too, there's a part of it that you feel like you failed. So once again, these were areas where I wasn't giving myself enough breaks.
Yeah.
And because I just felt like my body wasn't cooperating with me, and I felt like, what had I done to make my body not cooperate with me? I mean, I think I had always been physically aware, but I became a fitness zealot during my IVF days, because they do change. IVF does change your body. The hormones change your body. So you really have to be fitness. You have to really substitute that and supplement that with fitness. And so just really that journey was really difficult. But I think that in the end, choosing adoption was one of the best choices I made. I have the most beautiful child who is just a sheer joy. She is literally representative of joy. And
I tell you, Zara is something else. She's amazing. It was like she was born with this wisdom and self-awareness, and she seems older than her years. Very articulate. Well done. You've done an amazing job.
Thank you.
It's been a journey, but you're amazing.
Thank you. It's
totally
been so
impressed
much
by you. Anyway, so what words of advice would you give? Because I know you do quite a bit of mentoring with your Grooming for Greatness.
Yes.
What is the one theme that runs through your advice for young people or anybody wanting to set out?
So Grooming for Greatness was set up really because of a need I saw. I saw a lot of amazing women coming through the leadership pipeline, actually young men and women coming through the leadership pipeline, but really didn't feel ready to lead. So they were very happy with sort of just from a managerial perspective, but really when it came time to step up to leadership, people didn't feel ready. And so one of the things I wanted to do was help prepare people for leadership. And the way to do that is really to get under some of the attributes you need, and how do you start practicing those? So there's a big part of Grooming for Greatness, which is really around what does it mean to lead self, to lead others? How do you do those things? We bring in amazing speakers, but there is also a leadership coach we bring in, and her work is just amazing. She's amazing. And she really helps people because she's also African. She helps people. She's from Zimbabwe, Rachel, and Rachel helps people crack the code on the cultural blockage that you might have. I'll send you her link and you can put it in the show notes as well.
Please do, yeah.
And she's just a superpower when it comes to African leadership and helping African leaders understand their power. I mean, that's the big thing of what we try to do. And when I continue to work with my mentees, because I wanted us to have a formalized mentorship program. I didn't want it to just be a mentorship program with when we just meet up when we feel like it. So it's a year-long mentorship program, and we have a couple of cohorts every year sometimes, when depending on how scheduling works out. And the big part of what we try to do is that leadership is a very personal journey. It is really about you and what makes sense for you, how you lead personally, how you lead yourself, that helps you lead others, and how you serve is really important. And so the word of wisdom I always tell people is, it's going to be okay. Anyone that sort of is a seeker will always find. the right path for them. And I think, and also that path could be multiple paths. I think that was also what was difficult for me to accept, was that I am a seeker. I am curious. I do get antsy every 6 to 7 years. I do have to continually seek out what is going to give me joy in the next phase of life. I love doing different things and giving myself grace for that, because in the beginning, I just kept on saying, maybe I should have just gone to medical school, and that way I would never have to think about doing other things. And then I started talking to medical doctors who are not practicing, because once again, they were constantly finding what was fulfilling. And one of the things I love about the world we live in today is that we're able to wear multiple hats. And so the fact that I've transitioned out of full-time media doesn't mean I still don't do media projects. I don't do projects if I'm passionate about them. I'm still able to do work in media. The fact that I really, during COVID, saw the transformational power of technology and wanted to be involved in that industry and doing more things around investing in that future. I was able to learn, go to different courses. So that's another thing. Never stop learning. Last year, I spent 2 weeks at Stanford learning how to be a better investor. I've done I was at Oxford as well last year, learning how to be a better venture capital investor. I attend many webinars. I learn from young people all the time. So never stop learning. Just always have an open mind about where learning can take you. That's actually the biggest thing I really advise people to do, is never stop being curious. And
Thank you. Now, if you'd known then what you know now, what would you have done differently?
Probably invest differently. I think I've done quite a number of, and the more I learn about investing, the more I think about different ways I would have invested, or I would have definitely started young. So I tell every young person, start investing now, and start investing in your children's future as well. So that would be number one. Number two,
we all want to invest, but how do I invest?
I think the number one thing is to find out what investment instruments are available to you at any stage of life. So one of the things that's also really, I think that technology has done, it has made investments so much easier. So there are personal investing platforms in which you can really understand how much you're bringing in, how much you're spending. I think really understanding how much money you're bringing in, how much money you're spending, and really try to understand how much you're saving, how much you're investing. I think those things I really took for granted when I was young, that they would just sort themselves out. But really, you have to sort them out. You are the one responsible for them. And then once you start, you continue on that pathway. So whatever you start to do today gives you so much more dividends in the future. Another thing is giving. I give now, I mentor, I contribute to different things, but I think I would have started giving much earlier. I think giving also helps you in many ways. It helps you plan better. It helps you become more responsible. And it also brings you just so much joy when you're able to give. So I think for me, it would be around investing, it would be around giving, and it would be around giving myself grace and not being so hard on myself. Those are the things I would do differently.
Okay. So what next for you? What's left on your bucket list? But what is the one thing that is on your bucket list that you said, oh, do you know what? I've done Japan, tick. I've done this, tick. This is the one thing I want to do.
Oh, what is on my bucket list? I think for me, I love I love the energy and joy I get from exercise and fitness and nutrition. And I would still love to figure out a way to share that with people. I still don't know how that is. I don't want to be a fitness influencer. There's enough of those people. And nothing
enough of those.
I learn a lot from them, and I follow quite a number of them. But I think that for me, it would be just really sharing the things I know, finding the best way to share knowledge sharing. Because really, when it comes to travel, I really plan and go to the places I want to go to. The only place I've been planning to go to, I haven't gone to, is Portugal. So maybe that could be on a bucket list. But I also believe that's sort of within reach.
Yeah, it's doable. I mean, you
It's
could do it in 24 hours. You'd be
Yes, it's more of a time
come back.
thing. Yeah. So, but I think for me, it would
Yes, in
still
time.
be, it would be really around this continual improvement around, yeah, like living the best life you can live, living your best life.
Okay, but being busy because I can see you need intellectual stimulation. So it's going to be
Yes,
yes, it's going to
always,
involve some
always busy,
stimulation.
always contributing, always impact. Actually,
Yeah.
ooh, you know what I would love to do? I would love to be an
What?
ambassador.
What?
I would love to be an ambassador. I would love to go back to Korea. I would actually love to be an ambassador South Korea. Yes.
Okay. So let's put it to the powers that be if they're listening. You know who to call. You know.
Yes. I would love to go back to South Korea. I need to
Yeah.
start putting that
I
in the
think you're
world.
doing amazing. But you know, in terms of representing the country, especially in the tech space, that would
Yes.
be such a fantastic call. You know.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
let's put it out there. It might
Yes.
so happen.
That's actually what I would love to
Okay. So Sunday morning church or chill.
chill.
Sunday morning church or chill.
Chill. Chill.
Yeah. A woman
Chill.
after my heart. Okay. Yes. Okay. And who do you admire most? Who do you admire most?
Oh wow. I mean, it's so interesting. I've been spending so much more time with my mom lately. We walk in the morning. And I
Mm.
think at different ages, you have different people you admire. And I have to say, the last
Mm.
few years that I've been spending more time with her and just, getting deeper into her story, I just find her amazing. So she is currently my inspiration.
Right. I think maybe because they are our mothers, we genuinely don't appreciate, especially that generation, what
Yes.
they did in such a quiet way and achieved and achieved for us. All they
Yep.
did was for us, really. All their
Yep.
choices, they didn't put self first at all. Now we're into me. I need to be happy. I need to be. They didn't even think of that. They just, I'm in awe of them. That generation of
Really,
women,
it's amazing.
women in particular.
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm.
And the things they've
Well,
gone
no,
through,
I totally agree with
the
you.
stories she tells
Yes,
me,
yes, and they
constant.
don't talk about it unless you probe. It's only now in the last few years that we're hearing about it. They just don't
Yes,
talk about it.
totally,
You know?
totally. So yes, I really admire her, and she's been inspiring me lately.
Oh, well, no, I totally agree with you on that one. Now, if I know you've lived in the US and you're now in Nigeria, if you had a choice,
Mm-hmm.
where would you live? Anywhere in the world? I mean, I know you love Japan and you're looking at Korea. So where would it be if it's not US and it's not Nigeria?
Not US, not Nigeria. I really love Southeast Asia. But a place that I've been thinking about lately is
Ah,
Singapore.
Singapore. Yeah, it's around that sort of axis, isn't it?
Yes, yes, yes. It's very close to it's very easy access to all the beautiful places. But if I love Nigeria, love living here, that's another place I wouldn't mind living. And the funny thing is, a friend of mine who
Yeah.
lives
So
in
it's
Singapore says that it reminds her of Lagos.
yeah. Ah, I wonder why.
It's an island. It's
Yeah.
she just says it reminds her of Lagos. So I didn't see it
Ah,
when I was there,
interesting.
but that was also many years ago. This was over
You
20,
didn't see
I was there, it was over 20
you
years
didn't
ago.
see the similarity, but
Yeah. But I'm
right.
happy to go back and check it out.
Okay. So are you a morning person or a night owl?
So when I was younger, I would never consider myself a morning person,
Hmm.
but nowadays I am a
Well,
morning.
I remember the chemistry class in the morning.
I definitely was not
Didn't go down well.
definitely was not a morning person, but recently, but I also believe it's weather related. I have to say, living in Nigeria where it's warm all
Right.
the time, I literally jump out of bed in the morning.
It's lovely.
Wow. I mean, old man winter, just I could never battle old man winter. It just the power, the cold was
You're
too
not
much.
that person.
I'm not. But so yes, I'm now a morning person. Yes.
Oh, okay. And then what are you reading at the moment?
What am I reading at the moment? Am I reading? I'm like, what's summer? What is my summer read? Um,
Or audio or audiobook?
More like audiobooks. I'm always listening to multiple books. The latest book I've been listening to is Influence, is around influence. And I've not been doing much of it this summer, so not so good. Not so good with my reading list this summer.
Influence. It's a book about influence. Do you know who it's by?
Yes, it's Robert Kaldacci. Yes,
We'll
Robert.
be checking it out.
It was actually a book from my reading club. So it's called Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. It's actually a really good book.
I'm definitely going to be on it. What's your current favorite song?
My current favorite song. Ooh. So my daughter is listening to a lot of girl power songs. And so this is heavily influenced by her. So we're listening to two songs right now. One of them is
at age 5 or 6. She's already looking at girl power.
So she loves Roar, which is by Katy Perry.
Oh my goodness!
And she wants to learn all
Katy Perry. Yes.
So we're singing that a lot. And I have to say, learning, the lyrics are actually really powerful. I was like, oh, this is actually not a bad song. Like I'd heard it in the past, but
very
never
empowering. Yes.
And and she loves and so that's number one that is on repeat. And then the other song that is on repeat right now is The Greatest Love of All by Whitney Houston. So
that is fantastic.
Those are top of the song list, which I think it's amazing to rediscover these songs. And I think it really gives you a sense of how powerful Whitney Houston was. And you forget that. So it's been a very nice reminder.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. And what are you watching on Netflix? Because I know you were into media. Are you watching on Netflix or Mnet? Is it?
Yes. So funny enough, there was a show that I don't know why I didn't watch much of it when it was on, which is The Good Doctor. And it's on Netflix now. And actually it was adapted from a Korean series. And so one of those Korean adaptations, but it's about this doctor, you know the show. So for some reason I've been binging it, and I've also been binging Monk.
Oh,
so weird.
Oh, fantastic.
The detective.
I haven't seen it, but everybody's been talking about it. I know. Everybody's been talking about it, and I keep meaning to.
Monk is fun.
I will be checking it out. Describe yourself in 3 words.
Kind, resilient, and determined. I'm pretty determined if I want something.
Kind, resilient, and determined.
Yes.
I mean, with those 3 things, you can conquer the world.
Yay. Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Now, having lulled you into a false sense of security, you now have to tell me a joke. Okay.
Okay. So let me do the preamble. So there was a collection of corny jokes that when I lived in my best friends and I lived together as roommates for many years, and we would always do these corny jokes, and we called them dad jokes. So here goes one. Everyone forgive me for this.
Okay.
Why couldn't the bad sailor learn the alphabet?
Why couldn't the bad sailor learn the alphabet? I'm stumped.
Because he always got lost
at sea. Learn the alphabet? You tell me.
He always got lost at sea.
Oh, God. That is quite good, actually. It's one of the better dad jokes. I really love that. Well done.
So that is my corny joke.
Actually, no, I think you got a pass, and I will be using it too. So I'm keeping a store of the good dad jokes, because they're always good for wheeling it out at Christmas time. Well, thank you so much. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation, but more importantly, we've laughed through all the bad internet connections.
Yes.
So thank you. You're such a star. Now, if there's anything who wants to get hold of you, how could they do that?
So LinkedIn is one of the best places. I'm Biola Alabi on LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram I'm not great at DMs, but I'm very good at LinkedIn. But I'm Biola Alabi on Instagram as well, and on Twitter, which I guess X, formerly known as Twitter. But I did tell myself I was never going to call it X, so here I go. I'm also Biola.
I hate that word. Yes, I'm a Twitter person too.
I'm Biola A1, so Biola A1, also on X, and I'll send you all my handles.
Thank you so much. And listeners, if there's anybody you know who might enjoy it, you think will enjoy this, and I'm sure they will, please share the links and subscribe. Thank you so much, Biola. You're such a star. I've enjoyed our conversation, and take care and give my love to your mom.